Good evening, one and all and one. This is the new episode of the ThyGap podcast, season 2. I'm your favorite host, being Brute, and with me, I have
Bogus Noog.
Bogus Nook, the man who sucks out energy out of everything, the man who's the synonym of a flush, the man who never used a commode. Welcome, Bogus Nook.
Thanks, bro.
That's some really personalized thanks that you gave me.
Yeah.
But what I also want to do is, before we go any further and reduce the excitement that I've created in the last 10 seconds, let me just go through let me give the instructions to our audience off the bat.
Sure.
So the instruction to our audience, that is the ThyGapians who are out there listening to this, please follow us on Instagram @_ThyGap.
Yes.
You can also follow us on Twitter @ThyGap.
Yes.
And if you are old school and are still on Facebook, you can find us on @ThyGapities. And if you are even more old school
Yes.
and corporate and
Yes.
probably a software engineer or a HR, then you can write to us at mindthygap@gmail.com.
10 out of 10.
Right? Because don't do this, okay? Don't try to compare my introduction with your introduction, because it's not, you're comparing apples to oranges.
I never compared.
No, okay, I'm telling you upfront,
Yeah.
okay? Because you do that.
So many instructions, bro.
I'm a very instructive person.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first instruction being good evening. So no matter at what time.
What time you hear, I don't care.
It's evening.
It's evening.
Right.
Yeah, that's because time is like a very relative thing.
Yeah,
So wherever you are doesn't matter. Where we are is what matters.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the kind of message I'm going to put through. Is okay. The topic of the episode, Bogus. Are you ready for it?
Oh, please, I'm excited.
The topic of the episode is what is a good life? It's a question. Did you see that coming? You just gave me a statement. I put a question mark, converted it into a question, and also made it the title of this episode's. What is a good life? Because it's a very, very tough question for a guy like you. I understand. But nevertheless, go for it.
The best thing about this question, what is a good life, I feel, is that it's a very subjective question. And that it should be, at the end of the day, it should be a subjective thing. I don't think there should be like a template definition of a good life for people in general. And for that reason, this question is open to everyone listening.
And that's exactly why I asked you this question.
Yeah.
If it had a textbook answer, then we wouldn't have been doing this episode.
Right.
We had
at gmail.com. Write in and let us know what is a good life according to you.
Yeah, please do that.
And then let's cross-check what Brute and I have to say about it.
And Bogus was saying that I'm instructive.
That was just suggestive.
No, he didn't. Do you have a
suggestion.
different tone? You know, if it's a suggestion, it's more like a modulation. Like, why don't you write to mindthygap@gmail.com? That's a suggestion. But you're like, write to mindthygap@gmail.com. Then we will do this. And then step 3 is this. And then blah, 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 blah. Step 48 is this. That's not suggestive. That's instructive.
Dude,
But
it was
anyways,
a
I'm the more intelligent guy.
flirtatious suggestion.
No, don't flirtatious. Don't be flirtatious. You, out of
With our
all
audience.
the people, don't do this with so many sexual harassment cases coming up and all this. That's not the tone that you want to have. Even if there's a tree listening to our podcast, right? You should be careful about it.
What is a good life?
Yeah,
Man, what a loaded question.
it is.
I always felt, for me, like you said, is subjective, right? So
Yeah.
for me, in my mind, I would think I'm having a good life. First of all, and it's a combination of things. So the
Right.
first of all, just to get it out of the way, if I don't have to think about money too much, that would play a big role. Like money is something that I can treat with disdain. You know, like I don't really have to, it doesn't have hold over me in my life or my family. That would really go a long way. What else? Friends. If I have a few good friends that I can not only trust, that are not only loyal, but also good company,
Yeah.
that would go a very long way
Got
in
it.
making my life a good life. And
But let me just hold you there. I can see that there's a long list which is going to come up. So just from my understanding, Bogus. So when you said your disdain towards money, you are indirectly in colloquial terms, you're mentioning that financial security.
what I mean is like, reaching a point where you can treat money the way it is supposed to be treated.
Got it. And what is that? Like
It's-
necessity or self-sufficiency or like a little more than necessity? Like what is a good... Give me a number.
No, I don't have a number
Okay.
because the inflation, like every year, can't really put a number
And
to
the
it.
reduction of interest rates,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Can't really put a number, but basically, I feel like money is supposed to be treated with some amount of disrespect. It deserves that. That's what I feel for some
Okay,
reason.
so if you have money, you're going to throw it off.
I'm
Like
not
if you
gonna
have
throw
like
it.
100 rupees, you're going to disrespect 10 rupees off. Like, so you're going to throw off 10 rupees on the street and like, fuck it, like I'm not going to respect this shit.
If I could, that would be a good life.
Okay, got it. So we understand the role of money in your concept of a good life. That's because that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, where it doesn't have a hold on your plans.
Got it.
It's just there for you to use.
Got it.
That's about it.
I got it.
And
then you went with a bunch of good friends.
Yeah.
It's like a pinch of salt in anything we eat. Friends are necessary. Fair point.
yeah, and I include, when I say friends, I don't make distinction between friends, family.
Yeah.
Basically,
People. So
I want family also who are like friends to me.
So you're talking about your neighbors now, like
No.
like who are your friends but who act like your family.
No,
I mean,
no,
it's the same thing, right? Friends like family, family like friends. Essentially, you want people to behave in a certain way.
That's true. Actually.
Got it.
Friends like family, family like friends.
Yeah.
I think
I almost feel like I'm Dr. Phil's here. Like, who's that guy? Who's a psychologist who has a show in US?
he has a show in US. I'm not sure if he's a psychologist or anything, but yeah, Dr. Phil.
Yeah, Dr. Phil. I'm like correcting everything. I'm kind of giving you clarity in your own definition.
You're too hairy for that, bro. But
Okay.
yeah, friends like family, family like friends.
Got it.
But whoever I'm associating with, trust is like extremely important. If I can really, really trust those people. And what I mean is, I should be free to express myself in
Got it.
the way that I want, or as honest as I want to be.
Right.
There should not be any compulsions or restrictions that I feel. And health, like if I'm in good health,
Absolutely important.
really important.
Yeah.
And I'm able to travel, good amount of travel.
Yeah. If there is a fit body, it can allow you to move around a bit. So,
Yeah, but also, like if money is not an issue, then it becomes even easier to
move around.
move around and see the world,
Right.
because you're never going to really cover
But
all of
is it like a wanderlust travel that you want to do, like where people are like, hey, I want to go across the world, put my footprint in every country, which is like 220 odd countries. Is it that kind of a travel, or is it like what I mean to ask is it a purposeful travel, or is it like travel for the sake of travel, where I just want to like, let me get surprised kind of a travel?
A while back, it was the second thing that you mentioned, which is I just want to put my footprint and I want to
It
take.
was the first thing I mentioned. The second one is like surprise me kind of a travel.
Okay, let's not get too bogged down with the order. But what I mean is,
Chronology, samajna is important.
Yes.
According to our government, okay?
Of course.
And it's like a legal thing now. So
Yes.
that's why I'm being particular about these things. You don't bloody tell me what I have to do, what I don't have to do.
Okay, so a while back, it was the thing that I'll check off boxes. Like I've set foot in this country, I covered this place, I covered that place.
Yeah, I ate sushi, I ate like
Yeah.
Chinese
Yeah,
food,
yeah.
all that. Got it.
But after that, it became like if I go to any place and if I don't get the vibe of the place, if I don't get the culture of the place, if I don't understand the people there, to some level at least, then I've not really traveled.
Just to make it more glorified, shall I throw in the word energy? The energy of the place. I want to feel that energy of the place. Or is it just like...
Energy is like a very small part of it, but I would say like in different cultures, like what I saw from whatever I traveled, at least, you know, like because of their cultural background, because of their society or whatever it is, their definitions of basic things are different. Like their definition of happiness tends to be different. And if you ask them what it means to be
A person of that place.
yeah,
Okay.
like for example, if some foreigner came to me and asked me what it means to be an Indian, and what would I answer? You know,
Basically, you bore them for 4 days.
yeah. So I want to understand that also. Like if I can get that sort of understanding,
Got it.
then I would really feel more value add
Got it.
to my
So
travel.
it's not like chuck travel, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
like anything, but you basically want to travel to experience.
Experience.
Yeah. Build perspectives, grow your exposure, all that.
Yeah.
Got it. So travel is there. Fair enough. And is there anything else that you want to, that defines a good life for you?
Yeah. Beauty. That I should be surrounded by beauty. I should make some effort to make sure that whatever I'm doing or whatever I have around me in my house or something like that, I give enough importance
But
to.
isn't that the same
beauty.
thing to how you expressed what you expressed about travel? Like, isn't that okay? Do you have like a definition for beauty?
I'm talking about aesthetics. I'm talking about
Got it. Now you're probably, beauty is like more, it's a very broad term, so it was vague. But when you say aesthetic, now I get it. Like, okay, you want certain things to be in a certain way,
yeah.
which is of taste and
Like I want to strive for that. Like I want to put effort into that and
Right.
not just have shit for the sake of having shit, but also
means something about.
it means something and it blends with, for example, the old Greek style of architecture,
Right.
where along the cliff edges,
Yeah.
they used to build pillars and basically their architecture used to blend in with nature.
Right.
So it used to be stone and nature, and both used to mix perfectly.
Yeah. There's a synergy in
Yeah, and
how society and nature
some
exist.
old Indian royal architecture also followed the similar
Right.
principles.
Right.
And I just feel that has a huge impact on you as an individual, like to be surrounded by that.
Let's not generalize it. Yeah. Let's keep it to your own subjective liking. Because I see you're digressing. What I hear in what you're saying, Bogus, is you want to have aesthetic in your environment, basically, or surroundings of yours, where things mean something. And to explain that concept, it's like you want to have like a commode with a toilet seat, where the toilet seat means something. It's not just there for the sake of being there. Did I get it right?
No.
Okay, fair enough. They're good. Moving on. I thought it fit well in my head, but it's your subjective. It's your world.
Right.
So
Right.
fair enough. So aesthetics is, I think, makes more. It kind of gives a better picture than beauty, which is like very. When you said beauty, I thought like, fuck, this guy is like so horny. But
Okay.
yeah. So aesthetic gives like more definition to what you said.
I mean, that's kind of like every guy's dream is like live in Axeland or something, like surrounded by these nymphs.
Exactly. So in fact,
But
I was
it's not-
about to suggest
yeah,
you like
it's not
just
really-
buy axe.
It's not really
Fuck
practical.
this shit.
Yeah.
Like no financial commitment also. Just like buy axe and your life is sorted.
Yeah. So far, what have we covered? Friends, money, aesthetics,
Yeah. Travel,
some
health.
some form of art. Like I do have some art interest in some forms of art. You know, I would like to be surrounded by that.
Got it. Like, is it surrounded by art or you being involved in art?
Surrounded
They're two
and
different things.
myself being involved in it as well. Like
Got it.
even as a hobby, if I'm learning constantly, like
Yeah,
learning,
because if you're talking about surrounded by art, it's almost like a sub point of aesthetics. Right? Like in a way.
in a way,
Right.
Yeah.
But you want to be you want to have those hands on, you want to get your hands dirty,
Yeah.
performing arts.
Making something.
Got it. Like be a mechanic,
Like-
repairing your car and like becoming greasy hands and face and all that. That's the kind of image that I'm getting right now.
Yeah, I mean, just skilled with your hands, be able to construct, be able to make, rather than just consume.
Got it.
And just contentment, just being content with yourself, with where you are, and not really being too, I don't want to say ambitious, because already this plan is very ambitious.
Yeah. I mean,
On
like,
its own.
come on.
This whole, but
I feel that you're actually telling the answer for about half of the global population's concept of good life.
yeah, I'm not sure if that's true.
It's almost like you sum all of this and you get a good life, right? I mean, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, and this is all not to like peaks. This is all to a good measure, like good enough.
So that's the subjective part, basically.
That's the subjective part.
Right?
Like money,
How much of money makes you happy is enough.
enough money where you don't have to think about it, but
Yeah.
not too much as well, because once the money gets too much,
You're worrying about it.
you're worrying
Now
about
you're
it.
worrying
Yeah,
about it.
it becomes like a concern.
Yeah, it's like enough aesthetics where it doesn't cramp your room too
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
It's like that, right? I
Yeah.
get it. So it's moderation.
Yeah, and it's not too much aesthetics that some guy just walks in like NTR and say, "Hey brother, meelu baagundi." నేను పెట్టుకుంటా.
Yeah, I want to take all this. Or income tax comes in and says like, bro,
Yeah,
seems like something fishy is happening.
yeah, like
here.
what's going on? Like
Yeah.
you don't want to attract too much attention
Yeah,
as well.
just like smuggle but small.
Yeah, like
smuggle
small
enough.
measures. Yeah,
Small measures, small portions, smuggle small things.
just enough that you can get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. Got
Yeah.
it. So at any level, are drugs and all involved in this concept of good life, or you're okay without it?
I mean, if you have all of these things, that's like a drug.
It's
in
inevitable.
itself.
Okay.
You're always
themselves
you're
are-
high on life now.
Yeah, and that's the concept of a good life, right?
Yeah,
The definition of good life, in a simple way, is like you got to be high on life. Like you have to be like, okay, I love what I am, or what's happening.
Yeah, I love the people that I'm surrounded.
Yeah, I don't have to like abuse anybody. I don't have to be. I don't have to, lie to someone saying that they're good looking even though they're not. So yeah, that's basically being high on life. Like, got it. Anything else bogus? I'm asking as if I'm like one Marwadi shop vendor who's supplying groceries here.
I know.
But, like,
No, I think that about covers it. Brute,
like bogus.
what is your definition of a good life?
Oh, my definition of a good life is actually a single sentence. Is if I can succeed in following my instincts, okay, listening to myself, and execute as much as I can, then that's a good life, irrespective of the result. Like, I don't care what the result is. If those decisions will drive me to poverty, or whether those decisions will give me a lot of popularity, all that is secondary. The idea is to execute my ideas to as close to the potential as possible.
Can I rephrase that to say that you mean staying as true to yourself throughout?
Yeah, you are trying to steal my glory, but yeah, that's what.
No, this is still
basically.
your definition.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's like it's like writing, and you just did what a lot of authors do, which is write a success story of someone else
Right.
in their own words.
Right.
Right? That's called plagiarism, if I'm not wrong.
No, it's called a biography.
Yeah, it's called a biography.
Ask
It's called a
Boria.
biography. Yeah. No, you're right. Let me give you some credit, which I very seldom do. By the way, have you seen the kind of heavy words I'm using in this episode?
Yeah.
Yeah. Be
When
true
you
to
called
yourself.
attention to it right after using it, I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we didn't lose that point in
not
all the other important points. Be true to yourself. That's something I've come down to with respect to the definition of what's a good life. And the simple reason is, I know it's a cliche. A lot of people do say that, hey, be true to yourself, and that's the most important thing, and blah blah blah.
No, I mean,
They say it, they don't do it.
they do say it,
Yeah,
but they
they
don't
say
really say it in terms of like, this is my definition of like a good life. If I just stay true to myself, They say it in more general terms, like, oh, you should be true to yourself.
Yeah, but I think
But what you're saying is a little different. What you're saying is just this one thing
will give you a good life.
in your book,
In my book.
just having this one thing.
In my autobiography.
Yes.
If my autobiography is ever written by me, it's just like one sentence.
Right.
I stay true to myself.
Right.
So staying true to yourself basically helps you, one, avoid pretense. Second, when you remove pretense out of yourself, you're more or less satisfied. You're kind of like, you feel light. You don't have the baggage of being someone or performing to the audience in a way. And that's the prime foundation of having a good life, right? It's not like having the best life. It's not about great life or anything. I am kind of agreeing to you when you say that everything in a moderation. So even the concept of the good life is ingrained with the quality of moderation, right? So when you listen to yourself and you try to like follow yourself as closely as possible, everything automatically gets moderated. You know how much you have to push yourself, you don't have to push yourself. All those things kind of fall in place, and you just play by what is required.
So are you saying that when you're staying true to yourself, that's also in moderation?
No, I'm saying when you stay true to yourself, you end up moderating a lot of things.
If your definition of a good life is that one sentence, which is staying true to yourself, along with that, there could be many other things that are going on in your life. Money problems with family. For example, there could be a few bad apples in your family,
right,
that make your life miserable.
Right.
Problems with friends,
right,
or the wrong kind of people who take advantage of you, undue advantage of you or whatever.
Right.
So you're still fine with all of these things?
Yeah, like I said.
As long as you're just true to yourself?
Yeah, like I said, see, it's not about the result. It's not about what I derive out of these decisions. Okay? What happened, at least I can speak for myself.
Yeah, you're speaking for yourself only right now.
Bogus, stop butting in the middle of my sentences. When I'm trying to build a certain atmosphere, when I'm trying to intensify the conversation, don't break it down and dumb it down.
When you stop making sense, I have to butt in.
No, I always made sense.
Right.
Look at the statistics.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So, coming back to my answer, which you're not allowing me to answer. If you're talking about, I got an instinct of going and doing, say, theater, or being an actor, or cracking jokes,
okay,
right? I'm only focusing on doing the jokes. I'm not really looking. I don't know whether the joke will give me laughter or it will people will throw slippers at me. All that is secondary for me. I just wanted to do this. What will happen eventually is, say if it is not, it didn't come out as you want, or you didn't like the result of it. Instinctively, you will not get that feeling to do certain thing again. Okay? So over a course of time, you only start doing things which actually fulfill, your wishes in every form, like in terms of result, in terms of, happiness or whatever. Like in your case, to draw a parallel, when you say that you never spoke about career in the whole concept of the good life, right? Because there are some elements which have a better priority to address a good life. There are some other things which are basically constants, like a job, like a job, and like have a good married life or whatever. So those things will anyhow run. Those things you'll anyhow put your thought into it. You don't put a thought into what kind of a career you want.
No, I mean, the big difference I'm seeing between my definition and yours is mine happens to be very practical.
Yeah.
And yours happens to be very, very philosophical.
Unfortunately, I agree.
Yeah. That's how it looks.
I mean,
you're
coming
off a bit like a tragic in your definition.
Like a what?
Like a tragic kind of character, where it's almost like a Harishchandra kind of system, which is values, character, utmost importance, and whatever be the result of that, good or bad, it doesn't matter. it will still be a good life if I can stick to this one thread of staying true to myself, and maybe staying true to myself leads me down the path of poverty, like you said, and a lot of bad things may happen practically.
Right.
But still, you have straight to your true to yourself to the end. So no matter what happens for you, that is still a good life.
So it sounds bad that when you put it that way.
I mean,
Like,
it is
like idealistic in a nature. You're talking about Howard Roark of Ayn Rand, where it's like no matter what people think of me, I'm just fucking going to be the same way, right? It is probably true to an extent, but it's not. I mean, in execution, it's way different.
I mean, it does have
Okay.
a tragic sense to it. Like if you look at general Shakespearean characters like the tragics, where it will lead you down that line because you don't care about any of these things.
Like, I'm a living example of the fact that it didn't.
No.
Like I said, it's essentially application, right? Like, say, okay, when I say be true to yourself, or I like being true to myself, I'm talking about transparency here, right? The transparency comes in different ways. One transparency is about whatever you think or whatever thought you get, you are looking at that thought in the purest form. Okay, you're not trying to judge it, reason it, and anything.
Okay.
What happens is whatever experience you have, that is what you're reasoning. That's what you're judging, and then you kind of have a learning or do whatever, right? Move on from it or however it is. So the result is predominantly is not in your control per se.
Yeah.
Right? So that's not what you're trying to control. The result will have its own impact, however it has to have an impact. What you're trying to do is, when you get a thought, you try to implement it or invest in it in the best way possible. Not worrying about what other people think about that investment. That is what is being true to yourself. In my definition, in my book.
Okay.
That's what is being follow whatever you feel like doing.
Right. No, definitely. I get that part. It's just surprising.
Obviously, this level of intelligence you may not have been exposed till now in your practical life. So obviously it will be surprising. I'm not surprised by this.
Right.
I'm not stunned, Bogus.
Of course not. It's your own definition. Why would you be stunned by your own definition?
No, I'm not stunned by your reaction to my definition.
Yeah.
You see what I did there? I don't.
No, I don't think anyone knows.
Nobody saw it. But yeah, that's how it gets. Like, it's simple for me. Everything else is, everything kind of is just like a subcategory of this behavior or this, what you call approach. So that's where I come from. And that's enough for having a good life, according to me. Everything else is peripheral, like you said. It's the glitter glamour. It's chimichanga. It's the confettis. It's the decoration.
It's not like I disagree with the aspect of staying true to yourself, because that is at the very core of what sets things right for an individual. And that's actually what we were trying to get at in our episode Measure of Man in season 1.
Yeah, true.
Because that is what we discussed there was how to get there to that stage where you can...
Yeah, we discussed about the entropy of being...
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, we did that.
Yeah. So it was kind of assumed in my definition, and I was trying to look at it as, it's just a different perspective.
Yeah,
that's it.
Which is why, I completely agree with the fact what you said is that the definition of a good life is extremely subjective.
Yeah.
The problem that I see is a lot of people don't have it.
Yeah.
It is either skewed, or it is too chaotic, or, it is adopted. One of the biggest problems, one of the biggest things that I see is it's an adopted definition. It's not a definition of their own.
Yeah.
And the adopted definition mostly is like, have a great career. Very colloquial stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like happy life, happy married life, happy family, very, very peripheral. But it doesn't have like, if you have to speak in the corporate language, it doesn't have a strategy of sorts. Like, how are you achieving that? People don't have it. They're too busy in doing this transactional stuff, or they're too busy in building the blocks of as they go along. But they don't, and that's where I see a gap. Like, I've spoken to a bunch of my friends, doing pretty well in life, but they're still not satisfied.
Yeah.
And it's not greed also. It's not the greed that I want to do more, like I want to reach a certain...
Right.
All that is fine. But they don't even know where they have to put their finger on and explain, this is why I'm not satisfied.
So somewhere that sense of fulfillment is not there.
Yeah.
That sense of contentment is not there.
Yeah.
It's a big problem. Like, big part of the problem is, yes, like you said, there's a lot of influence and there's a lot of adoption from external sources. But I feel another part of the problem is there's no conscious effort to even define it for oneself. First of all, how do I define success, or how do I define, what's a good life for me? I don't find people, in general, making a conscious effort.
I think it should be an interview question, if you ask me. Like, every company should actually ask, fuck the job, fuck the KRA, fuck your skills and all. First, tell me, like, what according to you is a good life. That will actually probably push people to even at least get like a blueprint, or like go back to the drawing board and kind of like put things on paper.
Yeah, but then again, just the situation of the interview, you'll have to answer like, just 10 years in this company, this great organization, if I'm just still there, sticking around and synergizing my core competencies. All that.
But you can't faff this answer, right? That the problem is, like, if you would have told me, like, for example, do you think it's a very simple question which doesn't have like a complicated answer. So if you make up an answer for this question, it's very easy to catch it.
That's true.
Right? So you can't but have to work. You might faff it in like 2-3 places, or 4-5 places, but at some point you will kind of end up thinking like, okay, fine, you know what? Doesn't make any sense. I have to probably like just put down, at least in the easiest format where I can understand what exactly I want.
That's what makes tell me about yourself also one of the toughest questions. Like, everyone knows to expect that, but still it's not something you can easily faff about. Like, you'll easily get caught.
No, tell me about yourself is the most underprepared question.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody takes you through the resume at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's not much about yourself. Like, you lived 40 years of your life and you want me to tell that you spent, X amount of years in so many companies. That's all there is for you. It's so dull, man. Like, you should die.
That's literally the kind of answer I got when I interviewed someone who was quite tenured in our organization. And I asked, tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
He was like, I've been working here for about 7 years. And I joined in this level and I grew to this level. Yeah. And like, I don't know what else to say. like, wow.
Can you kill yourself, please? See, that's the problem, bogus. And the reason why this question becomes so important, and the reason why we even picked this particular question is, like always, ThyGap is a service to the world. We make everybody look better than us.
It's not free, by the way, but down the line.
Yeah, we'll also soon reveal
they're going to be easy payment schemes.
Exactly, I was about to say that. We'll start putting our QR code so that donations can come in. But no, it's a serious problem. It is. It's at an individual level. I think it is something that a lot of people don't have an answer for, or they didn't even bother addressing that question. Yeah. Which is why I'm trying, like, we have to keep it out in the open that there is no comparison. There's no one definition for this question.
And that's why we didn't really do this like an argument.
Yeah.
Like, try to defend our points or try to...
Except that you dissed on my definition.
No, I didn't diss on it. I called out the...
You called my definition tragic.
Not the definition.
It's an insult.
I called you a tragic kind of character because of your definition. It's going along that Harishchandra kind of line, which is...
It's not, bogus.
All or nothing. Just
You've
values.
not done it. So you don't know. You didn't walk in my shoes, okay? Do I look like a tragic character to you otherwise? Like, you've known me for a while, right? Like,
Yeah.
do I look like a tragic character for you?
No. I'm just saying the definition is making you come off as a tragic.
I understand.
Yeah.
But in reality, do I look like a tragic character?
No, you look like a joke.
Exactly my point.
Yeah.
My point exactly. When you are enjoying your life, when you're high on life, everything is a joke. Everything that sees you is a joke. Everything who sees you is a joke.
That's not exactly what I meant, but
Well, it goes down that lane, okay? Somewhere they merge.
right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, what I was telling was, let's get back to the topic. What is a good life? Hashtag shout out to the episode title. The reason is why we have chosen this is because of the fact that it's not a well answered question. And it's not a question that is thought about a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not given its due credit of how much it can actually contribute to you.
Right. And I was going to ask that, like, how important do you think, this question is? Like asking
Like
yourself.
on a scale of 1 to 10?
Not really putting a number to it, but how important is it for someone to ask themselves this question, first of all?
It's like shooting in the dark if you don't know the answer, right? Like, what are you doing? Like, how are you even approaching your day? It has to be like, again, it kind of goes into a corporate kind of an answer, or kind of becomes very motivational speaker kind of a thing.
Right.
But it is inevitable. I think it does add a lot of value on the broader picture. And once you have, like I said, you need to have at least a strategy of how do you approach that idea of a good life.
Right.
Whether it happens or not is secondary. Like, that's my subjective take again. But at least you should feel, at the end of the day, you should be like, I attempted it. Like, I gave it a shot. I'm going to give it a shot again tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. And that's about it. The fulfillment is predominantly in the effort that you put into your life.
So would you agree that no matter what, and as we've seen, like the subjective definitions of what a good life is can vary a lot from person to person. But would you agree that at the end of it, for everyone, it goes back to just fulfillment and contentment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, see, this language has murdered our thought process. Because the definition of these terms, right? Like fulfillment, satisfaction, success, happy, all these terms, they are basically, you can't measure them.
Yeah.
But language somehow tries to like quantify these things, right? Like your fulfillment can be by just like taking a walk in a beach every day. That's all you need, right?
Yeah.
My fulfillment would be to meet like 10 people a day, right? So there's a lot that goes into these things. But we kind of like just simplified by saying, hey, this is, you don't have a good job. How are you fulfilling your life? How are you successful? How are you happy without a good job? Like you need to have those set of benchmarks or milestones, not milestones, but benchmarks, I feel. Yeah. Right? You need to define your happy. You need to define your fulfillment and then stop comparing it. You know, that is where it gets very tricky.
Yeah. So in a way, the question of what is a good life according to you is just a question that's asking, where is your fulfillment?
You can say that.
And the problem with that is usually when I bring up fulfillment in conversation, I find that a majority of people had difficulty processing that word to begin with.
Yeah. Like most importantly, a lot of people don't even know how many L's are there in fulfillment. Yeah.
And it's like, I use some alien kind of word, like what is that? And how does it apply to me?
Yeah.
That kind of
I'm associated with this, like how?
Yeah, what do you mean exactly? What is fulfillment for you? Like that itself is.
If people think explaining entropy is tough, ask them to explain fulfillment. Yeah. Not just fulfillment, even if you take happy, you know. I mean, have you ever gone into a conversation where you casually ask someone like, what makes you happy? You don't get an answer. You don't get a straight answer. You get a very, very, I don't know, unpersonalized answer.
I find that that's a much easier question to answer because happy is like a very highly abused word, like definition. And
Yeah.
like you said, I eat a burger, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
So you've already cheapened it to that extent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I find fulfillment is really where it gets tricky for a lot of people.
So what is your fulfillment? What is your definition of fulfillment?
My definition of fulfillment.
Yeah, there are only 2 people in this room.
Mm.
And if I'm saying you,
Are you sure
I'm not
about
speaking in the mirror. If I was speaking in a mirror, we wouldn't have been recording this. What is your definition of fulfillment, bogus Nook? Take your time.
I can say it feels like soul food. It feels like you're feeding your... It feels like you're feeding something else apart from just your body or just your mind.
Intellectual.
Because intellect is also still mind. Yeah, so
What else is
fulfillment
there?
for me, it feels like it's soul food, like you're feeding your soul. And it fills that void, and that's the reason why people find it so hard. Like they could earn millions, they could have all kinds of material positions, still they'll be miserable because that one void is not being filled. And yeah, that's what I feel like. I don't know the technical definition of the word, but for me, that's how I interpret it.
Okay, so then, according to your definition of a good life, is there a place for fulfillment? Are you addressing fulfillment?
Yeah, it's being addressed in all of those. Yeah.
So here is where I see your case as to be more practically inclined.
Yeah, it is.
But the intellectual investment or I don't put philosophical investment of or a philosophical part of the definition of what is a good life is not really in its place. It looks like it's flexible depending on how these materialistic things kind of are addressed.
Oh, no, that's not true, because staying true to myself is, for me, it's kind of assumed. Like I didn't mention it because it's just assumed for me that's like the basic foundation. Like if that is not there in the place, then any of these things can go wrong. Your life will it'll go haywire, basically. You can't really
debatable once again.
I'm telling you, because you can't really set plans and you can't really form strategies and hope that they will succeed if you're not true to yourself, or there is no consistency. Basically, what staying true to yourself is it is setting a consistent pattern, which is you are staying true to yourself at all times.
How are you setting that consistent pattern?
Isn't that consistent?
What?
The fact that you will stay true to yourself at all times is one part of your life which is going to be consistent.
Okay, so how are you staying true to yourself? How do you do that in practicality?
How do you do that? Any decision that you have to take, you evaluate if it is really true to yourself or not. If it's going against your nature, against your character, against what your essence is, then you don't do it.
Yeah. So this is vague for me. This is something that I've heard a lot from people. So when I keep digging into it, right, they are like, yeah, you'll get to know. You'll get to know what is right for you. Okay? The reason why I'm kind of like pinning it a lot is I hear this a lot. I hear the fact that, yeah, listening to yourself is obvious. Okay? But how many people do that?
Yeah.
I don't see the majority doing that. And the majority is about 97%. Okay? And and you can figure these things out that they don't do this. The simple thing, I mean, there are simple definitions. Like, what do you mean by staying true to yourself? You listen to yourself. You follow yourself, or you be true to yourself. What does it mean?
It means exactly what we covered in Measure of Man.
Yeah. So there is a certain, there's a certain what do you call process
to it.
right? It's not something like, I listen to myself, and then fucking basically they have no clue how that is done.
Yeah, because that's very vague.
It's very vague.
The way they describe it.
Correct.
It's so vague.
So which is why I find everything else is, so how I look at it is, I'm kind of like, now going back to my point, is the practical aspects of what you decide on, right, are circumstantial in my view, right? It can be due to the kind of people you are with. It can be due to the kind of place you are in, right? Mentally, like if you're in a place where you're a single guy and you have a lot of free time, and now you're mountains are calling me and all that, if I can go to the mountain, right? So, and you figure out how to arrange for all that. That's all fair. But imagine you don't have that concept of, okay, I first have to learn to live with myself.
Yeah.
Okay. Even before I address these practical requirements or my practical cravings, I first have to figure out who am I or what am I. Once you do that, once you're able to figure that piece out, whether or not you do these practical things really doesn't impact your fulfillment. You know what I mean?
In your case.
Which is what is my dissection.
Right.
Even if you miss out on a bunch of opportunities of, say like, traveling or like eating good food or whatever, it doesn't bite you so much because you're like, hey, it happens. Fuck it. It's not a big deal. I will get an opportunity later on. You almost intuitively become optimistic about things.
Yeah.
Especially the practical aspects, right?
Yeah.
Which is why, and that's the state that you want to be.
Yeah.
Generally, that's where fulfillment comes. Fulfillment is not just when you get something. Fulfillment also works when you don't get something.
Fulfillment is especially important when you don't
get something.
Everything.
Right.
Because if you have something, and if you only feel fulfilled when you have it, that means as long as it's gone,
it's there.
You're back to square one.
Yeah. The moment it slips out of your hand, you're gone.
Or it doesn't even have to slip out. Like once you acquire it, it might start depreciating in value for you. Because
circumstantial. Yeah. Exactly. Like your state of mind changes.
Yeah.
So therefore, for me, it is more imperative to solve the root problem. And the root problem, for not having a good life is when you're not kind of comfortable with yourself. Right? Which is why it is, the whole concept or the strategy of being true to yourself is, for me, it's A plus B. It's A equals to B rather. Like if you're true to yourself, you'll have a good life. The idea is to just keep being true to yourself as much as you can. The practical aspects of it, like I said, like I love watches. I like eating food, right? I like going and meeting people. There will be times where you don't have access to this. There will be times where you don't get it. That will not put you down because the weightage is not heavy on them in my head. My weightage is like, oh, I thought of having lunch outside today. I didn't have it. Fuck, my life is gone. That kind of a feeling doesn't come in, So for me, a good life is directly proportional to being true to yourself. Everything else in the middle are all variables. Whether they happen, they don't happen, it really doesn't like occupy a lot of my mind.
Okay.
That's where I'm coming from. It's not tragic, by the way. Okay, I'll punch you next time if you say anything that I say is depicting me to be tragic, right, Bogus?
You have a tragic outlook on life, bro.
Bogus. I dare you. Okay, I double dare you to say that offline and see the consequences. I will be very fulfilled, by the way.
I was saying tragic in a theatrical sense. Like in theater, how they say, like comedy and tragedy are, what do you call it? A fine line between comedy and tragedy. Yeah. That kind of tragic, like a theatrical sense. But
no, I get that. But never associate the word tragic with me. Okay. The only tragic part in my life is you, Bogus.
Right.
The fact that I'm sitting here doing a podcast with you is the most tragic element which I've made peace with.
See, and that's the key to a good life.
This is good. Exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Point proved.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess fulfillment is, like I said, in my description of a good life, that part about being true is
assumed.
Kind of assumed.
Yeah, I get that.
And for me, it's like, yeah, I won't really feel too bad if I can't make any of these things. But the way I look at it is, if I stay true to myself, there's no way in hell I'm not going to make any of these things. Like, it's a part of my plan. It's going to happen eventually,
Absolutely. That I completely agree with. And that's the power of listening to ThyGap podcast. It will push you to be true to yourself and be honest, so that you can write us your honest feedbacks without worrying about being judged.
Yeah, I mean, we will judge you,
Yeah, but we'll not let you
but
know.
you should not worry about
Yeah,
it.
you should worry about it.
Yeah.
And we'll not let you know also. So we'll help you not to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you write in, we might roast you, but you should not worry about it.
Behind closed doors.
Or up into the mic as well. But you should still not worry about that shit.
Yeah.
So write to us. Let us know, what is your idea of a good life? What do you consider as a life well lived at the end of the day?
And you can do that by writing to us. Once again, I'll reiterate for your own knowledge. mindthygap@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram @_ThyGap.
Yep.
Or you can tweet us
At ThyGap.
ThyGap. And you can Facebook us. I don't know what it's called anymore.
Yeah.
But and that's about what Bogus and Brute have to say about what's a good life according to them. It's a subjective definition or a call or an opinion, advice, suggestion.
Yeah, and the first step to, of course, start living a good life is ThyGap. Subscribe.
And share.
And share. Start living that good life.